We're all leaders on this call. We all have aspirations that pull us towards this particular work that we're doing. And yet, as hard as we try, our outcomes don't always match our expectations. So let's just connect on that particular challenge. Then I want to share with you how design thinking and objectives and key results, particularly when they're combined in a framework that I call PeakForm, can make such a difference to teams who are struggling with exactly that challenge of getting the outcomes that they're after. I'm Hannah Berson. Most of my work has been in management consulting, and within that, about 10 years focused almost exclusively on healthcare consulting in the greater Seattle area. Organizations, almost half of them, are not meeting their strategic targets. We have C-suite executives who, on the quiet, will know that their firms are not managing to bridge that gap between their strategy and the day-to-day implementation. I see the misalignment across teams. I see the fact that people are struggling to articulate their goals, or innovation isn't happening, or competing priorities. The title of the slide is PeakForm. The first model we're going to talk about is design thinking. And design thinking is this very powerful and proven framework for innovation. And what it does is it takes all those complex challenges that we see all the time, and it guides us to be human-centered in how we approach solving those challenges, not only in terms of the people we're solving them for, but how we actually work together to get to those answers. It isn't just a fun workshop. It actually does get you to market 2 times faster. You do see higher revenues. You do see higher returns. These are studies that have been done by Forrester and McKinsey. OKRs might be a new term for some of you, objectives and key results. This is a framework that actually came out of Andy Grove from Intel several years ago and was brought forward into the mainstream by John Doerr, who was advisor to Google. And what objectives and key results do is they give a very clear and not overly complicated framework for setting not just any goals, but ambitious goals. Going back to this PeakForm concept, a lot of organizations will adopt one or the other, or if they do adopt both, they're in very different parts of the organization. PeakForm actually combines them into one construct. It's taking the creativity, the collaboration, that magical way of working that design thinking brings us, and pairing it with the clarity of OKRs. Let's draw on design thinking to anchor us and align us on our aspirations. Great. Then let's draw on OKRs to set the vision. Then let's go back to design thinking to be innovative and creative about how we deliver. But then let's use our OKRs to help us sustain that momentum and keep our tracking going so that we know that we're actually hitting our objectives. So let's take a quick look at a case study with some work that I've been doing with Seattle Children's Hospital in Seattle. That there was a lot of reactive work going on. Very talented people kind of doing the same thing they'd always been doing. We spoke about doing this PeakForm thing and trying it out. These are their words, not mine, of the impacts of working this way. They can report out really quickly to execs if they need to. They all use these methods in their meetings now. They do faster strategy development. We'll look at some numbers there. They've got much more focus on their high impact work. My client, who has her direct reports, is seeing much stronger leadership from them. And that was what she was after. And they're collaborating in a much better way and having a lot fewer delays. Annual plan is exciting and just excruciating as well, because they have the structure as they go into their 2026 planning. They're seeing a big decline in the amount of time they need from executives and in the cost associated with doing that work.